Well, most businesses start with an idea when people don't have clear vision.
You have to market your business in proportion to the greatness you claim it has.
It's your job, and as a business owner, to give every bullet in the gun to your salespeople to deliver
100%.
a 5-star experience to your customer.
Yeah.
I have Jordan Lung here from Trade Up Marketing. Came in from Florida, from pastor to marketer. He's helped build orphanages and I forget missions. Is that the proper word in Haiti?
Yeah, you get churches. Yeah,
churches and orphanages and churches in Haiti. And on top of that, the best part I love, I said we got to talk about it. His kids own a gumball machine already, gumball company, and they make recurring revenue every month from it. Jordan, thank you for flying up here to be on the podcast. I appreciate it. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Jordan, why don't you tell everybody who you are real fast, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, so I'm Jordan Lung. I'm 36 years old. I'm originally from Illinois and grew up on a small little dairy farm. There's more cows and pigs than there were people.
Okay.
My family founded the town back in the 1800s, so it's been a great spot to grow up on. We grew up on about 600 acres, so a lot of my upbringing was riding four-wheelers, camping, fishing, hunting, just enjoying the outdoors and working with my dad, working with my mom. Involved in church, involved in family. And so we moved to, after I graduated high school, and moved to Springfield, Missouri, and where I met my wife, Brittany. We've been married 15 years next month. We have 3 kids.
You're 36.
36, yeah.
Okay.
I was basically a child bride, or whatever you might.
I just think about it real fast.
Yeah, our grandparents actually hooked us up. So they knew each other back in the 60s in Illinois, where they went to church at. And then my grandparents and Brittany's grandparents kind of moved away after a few years. But then fast forward like 40 years later, that church had its 75th anniversary, brought back all the people that had gone to that church. And then Brittany's grandparents and my grandparents reunited after about 40 years from hanging out. And long story short, they started introducing and showing like pictures of their grandkids. And so after they left, I got a call from my grandma. She's like, "Hey, I got this girl, Brittany Peters, and you're going to college, in a few months, and she's going to college in a few months at the same school, Evangel University. It's a small little liberal arts college in Springfield, Missouri." She's like, "If you don't have anyone that you should connect with her." And that,
Oh, you connected?
Oh, I connected. Facebook had just come out. This was 2007. And so I had joined the Facebook freshman page, class of 2007 to 2011. And ironically enough, when I joined it, Brittany's picture was one of the most recent ones that joined it. I was like, I think that's Brittany Peters. I think that's the chick that my grandma told me to meet one day. So I messaged her on Facebook, hit her up, and we still have that message somewhere in a binder. I was like, "Hey, I'm not trying to be a creep, but our grandmas know each other, and I guess our families knew each other. So if you want to be friends or hang out sometime in the fall when we go to school, I'd be happy to meet you, and we'll just be friends and stuff."
How did her picture look?
Oh, it's smoking hot.
Yeah, sure it was.
Yeah,
If she was ugly, she might not have got it.
No. Yeah, so, you know how it works. So we got married our senior year of college. We went to seminary right after that. Evangel is kind of a Bible college, liberal arts college. So we went into ministry right after that. We spent some time at James River Church in Springfield, Missouri, and then down in Florida, we planted Echo Point Church. And after a year of planting that church, you're not starting a ministry for money. I mean, it's all about forwarding the gospel, making Jesus famous, essentially, is what we're trying to do. And in doing so, we're doing Bible studies, we're doing small group meetings, we're literally playing ball with kids in the streets and just letting them know who we are, what we're doing. So it was a lot of grassroots marketing, if you will, a lot of grassroots style of just communicating your message. I had chances to preach, chances to teach and lead those Bible study groups from time to time. And so once that, about a year later, once that church plant, it couldn't sustain itself financially, we decided, well, we're either going to move back up to the Midwest, maybe get a job as a pastor somewhere, or stay in Florida. And so we prayed and fasted for a month and just felt like God was leading us to stay in Florida. Didn't really know why.
Prayed and what?
Prayed and fasted for a whole month.
What's fasting?
Fasting, it's where you give up certain foods to position yourself to pray and ask God to speak to you during that time. It's very intentional timing.
What religion is that?
Christianity. Yeah, so
I'm Catholic. I never heard that. Like, I know, like during Lent, like people give up stuff.
Yeah, it's a form of fasting, but it's not I wouldn't say that's a complete phase of fasting, if you will. Fasting, you see Jesus go in the wilderness for 40 days and he fasted. He lived only probably off water at that point. There's the most popular one I would say is called the Daniel fast. That's where you see in the book of Daniel, Daniel fasted and he basically just ate fruits and nuts. And
Is that what you did?
yeah. So we gave up
30 days.
Yeah.
How much weight you lose?
Probably about 10 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Probably felt great though.
yeah. So we gave up all that. And what you do is you're intentionally posturing yourself to hear from God. And so that's when you're in the Word a lot more. That's when you're praying. It's when you're listening to pastors, to mentors, basically just for a decision on what God has next for you. And so for us, that was either move up back to the Midwest or stay in Florida. And we just kept feeling this tug. The best way I can describe it is it's like if you ever surfed or ever did wakeboarding, that push to go forward, to go towards the land, if you will. That's kind of what it felt like for us to stay in Florida. Doors started opening up, and that's when we felt like we're getting opportunities to get into business. And business was never something I thought I would get myself into, but I had a lot of great background with my parents, with their businesses, to where it taught me this is what you need to do. It gave me all the foundation to then, when media came in as the vehicle for business, that's when we thought, we're going to start a video production company.
I got to ask this question. So you grew up on a farm, 600 acres. I brought you to my farm here. You got to start chuckling when you pulled through the gates and said, this ain't no farm.
Right.
This is like your parking lot on 600 acres.
Yeah. This is a great spot. I mean, we had.
Yeah, I appreciate you being nice, but 600 acres, I mean, come on.
Well, most of it was all farmland. And my grandpa owns a lot of it. My uncles owned a lot of it. I mean, we would ride four-wheelers. It kind of was a family compound, essentially. Like, we had my grandparents, my mom's parents. We had to drive through their driveway to get to my house. It was a quarter of a mile just to get to our house. It was kind of a U shape, and it was all, I guess, surrounded by trees.
Fascinating.
They built a pond. Yeah. So we would drive through the cornfields and bean fields to get to my uncle's places, and that's where my cousins were at. So a lot of my upbringing with my cousins was, ramping four-wheelers, riding through cow ponds, going mudding.
Did you play sports?
Yeah, I played football. Yeah,
football.
Yeah, football is how I got into media.
That's fascinating. Now, let's jump into this because this is about business, and I do appreciate the religion part. How do you go from being a pastor, a priest, or I'm sorry if I'm not using the right terminology, a minister, or
Pastor Jordan was my title, yeah.
Pastor Jordan. Sounds cool. So how do you go from Pastor Jordan to I'm going to be you started out in video and photography, I'm correct, right?
Yes.
So how do you go from that to saying, I'm going to go sell contractors great videos and great pictures?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just curious to how you...
Yeah, so
that one.
So in 2013, that's when the church plant stopped. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, we were left with that decision. What do we do? Go up to Illinois?
You say, as you and your wife started the business together?
Yeah, Brittany and I started that together. Yes.
So is your wife still involved in the business?
Yes and no. So thankfully, we've hired all the parts that she did.
Okay.
So to where she really is more of the chairman and I'm the CEO, if that makes sense. But when we decided to get into this, it was, all right, the ministry vocationally, because I still feel like I'm a pastor's heart, but I'm not getting paid to do it. It's a big difference. I don't think you have to have a paycheck to be a pastor. That's a big deal for me. I still use my business as a vehicle for ministry, but essentially we decided...
How are people receptive to that in this day and age? Because faith is at an all-time low.
Incredibly receptive. I've won more jobs because of who I am as a Christian than being afraid to open up my mouth. Because I know who I bow to.
Because religion is at an all-time low in America.
Absolutely.
Faith is at... I mean, there's no surprise that they made an American pope this year.
Sure.
The first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because religion's at an all-time low. When they made an American pope, I just started chuckling.
Right.
And my wife said, why are you chuckling? I said, babe, this is the biggest gimmick ever.
Yeah.
I said, like, American pope, like, we're at an all-time low. Catholic Church is at an all-time low here in America. Marriage is at an all-time low. Kids are at an all-time low. Families at an all-time low. They're trying to bring it back.
Absolutely.
Because you can't blame them. It's a business. The church is a business. I'm religious.
100% economics of it, yes.
There's a lot of economics behind it. But
So when we felt like we need to stay in Florida, video was the only thing that I could really fall back on that I had a strong skill set in. And so what we decided to do is I went to different Chamber of Commerce meetings, different B&I groups, and different groups that I could go to. I could talk about making video content for businesses. Since I love doing it through my upbringing, I blew my knees out playing football. And my coaches said, hey, you can still be on the team, but you can be the water boy or the video guy.
Dang.
And so I basically
boy, the video guy on the area.
so just turned a tragedy to triumph, is what we like to say. But yeah, that's what we got into it. And so I fell back on the
Or assume you didn't become the water boy.
I did not.
Guy.
No Hollywood was shows.
Listening, my man became the video guy. This ain't Adam Sandler over here. Right?
So yeah, once we started JL Video, that was out of our Honda Civic.
JL Video?
JL Video. Yeah, so my initials, JL, Jordan Lung.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife, she's like, hey, if you want to do this, I believe in you. Let's go 100% into this business. We just got married, so we had $20,000 in our savings account. And thankfully, we had no debt or anything like that, so we could go full into it. So I took $10,000, got lighting gear, audio, camera, computer, and just started hustling, making cold calls, posting on social media, and doing a ton of in-person networking groups. We built that business. Within 7 years, that's when it got to the 7 figures.
Nice.
Thank you. By the time I was 31, that's when we hit 7 figures. We had 12 full-time staff in that. And what we were finding was a lot of our clients were contractors. Pasco County, Florida is north of Tampa, and there's a ton of blue-collar workers and trades there. But the issue, the huge gap that we felt like we could provide in, is a lot of them were really great at what they could do, but not very many were good at telling the story or showing the story of what they were doing. And so if you can't show the story, you can't sell that next job as easily. You can still sell it with being a great salesperson, I believe, but if you have content and you have media to show the great before and afters, the testimonial videos, the ads, the brand story videos, all the marketing assets to really make someone feel what it's like to do business with you, then you're not going to be as successful. And so we kept filling that need where we work with roofing companies and AC, pool companies, general contractors, the like. And we just started providing high quality content. For me, I'm an all-in guy. My parents, I give all my credit to my parents, just the background of excellence, the background of hard work. That's something that's true to me, not complaining, just shutting up and doing the right kind of work. With just how my parents are raised, my grandparents, it's so foundational to who I am. So everything that we did was with excellence. And so we became known for high quality. And then in doing so, after all these years of building out our business and whatnot, we felt like we're helping out so many contractors with just video, but then they didn't have the comprehensive marketing approach that we felt like we actually knew how to do or could provide that for. So I built a team around Trade Up Marketing, and that's the name is Trade Up Marketing. It's because we're only working with trades, service businesses, home service businesses. And so that's, we take the background of video production, combine that with digital marketing, offer a series of services. At the end of the day, we're trying to scale a business to exit. I really felt like the questions that we would
like that, build it to sell it. That you like my model.
Yes.
I got to ask you a question. I'm going to cut you off. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm listening to you. You might be one of the most well-spoken 36-year-old kids I've ever spoken to. You're polished, right, Neary? Got you. I mean, like, it's hard to. I interview a ton of people, and some are more polished than others. Some aren't. I'm not the most polished guy. I bring a little different flair to it. But you're almost like Obama-like. It's hard not to like you.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you take speaking classes? I mean, your parents had to groom you on speaking. There's no way not to because you're very, very polished with every word. Even when I met you here, when you got up, shook my hand, eye contact, spoken, polished. Thank you for having me. Like every word you think about before you say it, don't you?
I do. I one of my biggest struggles, believe it or not, was stuttering.
Really?
Yeah. And I would start speaking fast and I would say a lot. And so what happened was in seminary, we would have to preach and then we'd have to record it and rewatch it. That sucks. If rewatching yourself, hearing yourself, I hate listening to myself on voicemail. That's not something that's fun to do. But what it taught me to do is just slow down. And so I don't speak that fast, words per minute, if you will. But for me, it was more, what am I trying to get? We're really keen on what's your central proposition. And in communication, you have to have that central proposition, also known as just your main key point. And if you have that main key point, everything else circulates around that. And so I was 21, 22, being judged by my professors, guys that had PhDs, preached all across the world, studied in Israel for periods of time. It was a little intimidating, not going to lie. But once you just kind of take those licks and just keep on preaching, if you will. I did pulpit ministry. I was a vocational pastor for 5 years. So I'm preaching Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday nights, and so on. So you just get used to that style.
Your communication skills have to help you on sales calls
100%.
because like I'm just looking at you, like good looking guy, well groomed, keep yourself in shape, but your voice is like a 10, right? The way you speak, the way you, like he's Obama, like it's captivating. It really is. From the moment I met him, I'm like, this guy, I said to Bill, I'm like, this guy's fucking captivating. I mean, Bill's like, really? I'm like, yeah, Bill. I'm like, this guy's captivating. He's like, more than me. I'm like, yeah, Bill, he's more than you, buddy.
Thank you.
Like, you good. So now you get into marketing, and I'm assuming what made you say video is not good enough is you were seeing your clients hire these shitty SEO companies.
Yes.
Because there's tons of terrible ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just terrible.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, I try and tell people, like, don't look ever at the price of what an SEO company gives you because you're not buying a car here. You're not buying a toaster here because you better make sure you know the company you're hiring because the price is so irrelevant because you might actually lose money. Actually, let me rephrase that. You're probably going to lose money when you hire a digital agency because they're all shit. Would you agree that?
I think a lot of them have a lot of hype.
He's so polished. He's so polished. Go ahead.
I think a lot of them have a lot of hype, but they don't also have the results. That's one of our core values is results over hype in our company.
You should get that on your shirt. I like that.
Right, yeah. So we want to make sure that everyone does fulfill what we're saying we're going to do. One thing is I love the businesses that trust us because they're what helps feed my family. They're the ones that feed my employees' families as well. So it's personal in the sense that I love what I do. I'm passionate about seeing businesses scale. I watched my dad exit his company. He developed Midwest Crop Insurance in 2000 and sold it for 8 figures. And watching him do that.
Dad's my kind of guy.
Yes. It was the country's largest independent crop insurance agency. They would just sell corn and soybean insurance. And so he helped me start my first gumball machine business. My mom, she was so involved with school, with the family life, Meals on Wheels, serving at our church. She played piano. So she would give me a lot of opportunities to play bass guitar up on the stage. So just being in front of people, performing, playing piano was just something that was pretty important to us. But yeah, that's a lot, tying that back, like that level of excellence that was ingrained. I'm the firstborn, so I kind of have that firstborn perfectionist syndrome, where we all want to make sure that we're being approved by our parents and our grandparents and such. But I just care about the excellence of it. And so when you do care about that and you have the background that I did, it's really hard for me to provide a crappy product.
You said something about they feed your family. And what was funny was the turning point in my life when I owned one SEO, which we'll talk about them and them not paying me my earnout. Wouldn't even show me the financials. We'll talk. It's the only time I've not hit an earnout in all my companies was the one I started from the ground up, which we'll talk about that. So watch you sell. Don't ever sell to a search fund. But here is something that you'll find funny. And my point was this: I'll never forget. I made it. I became a millionaire, and I knew I made it because my house was paid off, my old house. And I didn't have to worry about any bills. I had money. I owned other real estate, so. At the time, my cash flow was probably like $30,000 a month, and I knew I could live off $30,000 a month just from real estate, right? So I'm just going to speed up here. And one day I was sitting down with one of my first clients, Alan Giern, and he had a business card. It was marketing, and it hit me in my face. This guy relied on my expertise, not only to feed my family, but to feed his. And it changed the whole pivotal point of one SEO at that time because we were probably only 12, 13, 14 employees. And I preached that not only do these guys pay you, they're trusting you with their kids' money for food, their kids' school money, their car pay, because they don't pay them without that marketing working. And it changed my whole perspective. And it was almost like if you were having a movie and the wind just hit you, you're like, wow, yeah. I finally get it. And that's why I truly believe still today I'm one of the best. Even though I don't own a digital agency, I'm still one of the best digital marketers in the country. And that's why I grow companies so fast. Because I understand what's at stake. And it's not just about what's at stake for me.
Yeah.
It's at what's at stake for you. And people I was talking to, who were talking to the guy in Knoxville yesterday, and his marketing wasn't working and this and that. And I said, yo, dude, because he once joined my coaching group, wasn't sure. I said, if you think $100,000 makes a difference in my life, not being arrogant or rude, compared to what it's going to do for you, do what you want to do. And he's like, what? I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, if you don't take there's always so many spots in my coaching group. You're going to either take it or someone else will. The difference is 100 grand. I don't make, when someone pays me for coaching, do you think I keep the whole 100 grand? Or do you think I pay all my employees and the coaching group runs at about, I think that one runs at 20%, 15%, correct there? LFG Winner Circle. It's not even that much because you won't let a lot of people into it. Correct. We only market it. So the point I'm making to you is when you're talking to your employees, what I would say to them is, forget what it does for you. These people are trusting you with their lives. These are the people you're going to see at Dunkin' Donuts, Wawa. These are the people you're going to see at your kids' games. These are the people you're going to see at conferences. Make sure they know you did everything in your power to help their family be successful.
Absolutely.
And that's that's what I would say to every marketing agency out there, because a lot of these people, they're parking lots at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the best things I ever heard is work-life balance. Do you get that with some of your kids? People want work-life balance. Well, you're a kid too, right?
Yeah.
And when do you think business owners are going to call you? When things are good or when things are bad? What do you think, Jordan?
Oh, it's bad. It's usually after hours or really early in the morning.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to. Early morning, late at night. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, and, this is when probably about 6-7 years ago, CJ came to me. She was probably CEO. We're ready to be CEO. She wasn't CEO at the time. She's like, Lance, we got to put boundaries in place for people not to call after 5-6 o'clock that our people don't have to respond. We're losing good people. I thought about it, and then we went with it for probably 3-4 months where we actually wrote an email to her. It was one of the horrific mistakes I've ever made. I got sold on it because you got to remember at this time, we're way over 75 employees, and things do change in business, right? You have to have, and she goes to me, but I see our loss starting to increase. Well, what did we change 4 months ago, 5 months ago, whatever it was? We stopped letting our employees respond. And it went from not responding immediately to they wouldn't respond for 2-3 days sometimes. And clients cancel. And that's in every industry. That's in every digital agency. You and I both know that. You have those employees that have done it to you. It's just as you grow, right? And I was like, if I had a problem, and I'm very fast tempo, Jordan. I think you can feel the fucking energy. I'm fucking, from the moment you met me, I haven't stopped moving yet, right? Like if you don't respond to me, I'm going to go find someone that will.
Yes.
I.e., I hired a lawyer from Fox Rothschild, right? And Colin, I love Colin. You're my guy. But I hired a guy from Fox Rothschild. What's his name? I'm not going to put him on the place. Andy or Andrew, whatever the fuck this guy's name is. And I'm doing real estate transactions with him, right? And to the tune of my first bill with him was like $20,000, let's just say. But ballpark, right? For not a long period of time, right? I spend over $1 million to $2 million a year in legal fees, right? Among all my businesses, right? So the guy responds when he wants to respond. I said, Andrew, I'm going to pay you right away. I expect you to respond within 24 hours. I would like 12 hours, but I'll give you 24. Once we go past 24 hours, we got a problem. I don't care who you are. Like, we got an issue, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I'll try and do better. Next email, I emailed him on Friday. He gets back to me on Tuesday. I fired him.
Mm-hmm.
I fired him. That's one of the largest law firms in the country. I didn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
Because your best ability is your availability, Jordan.
100%.
And a guy that sells insurance, Brian Boss, I call it the Boss Theory. This guy, he might make a few $100,000 a year. We're walking on the football field. Guy coaches my kid. I love him as a coach for my son, by the way. Doesn't coach him anymore, but that makes me sad. But he's just talking to me. I see him taking a phone call. This is an insurance guy on a Saturday morning. Insurance guy. Yeah, I'm taking a work call. I'm sorry. Saturday morning, right? Guy's just an insurance salesman. Because my best ability is my availability. And it stuck with me.
I like that. I remember this was 2020 and COVID was just coming into play. And down where we're at, they're like, hey, we're going to shut down non-essential businesses. And so with us, we're like, well, we're a non-essential business technically. But I'm like, no, I'm an essential business to my family, to my employees. I don't really care what you guys say. We're still going to work. I don't care if we work out of our houses. We take our servers back wherever. So what happened was we got a call from Duke Energy, and they were having their largest project in Florida happen just in our backyard in Safety Harbor. They said, hey, can you guys show up in a day or two and film this entire project? I think it's $250 million project. basically taking electrical lines from the east side of Safety Harbor to the west side.
Yeah.
So the big project, helicopters, tons of concrete, millions of pounds of rebar and all this fun stuff. And I'm like, yes, we can do that for you. And I hung up the phone. I'm like, I don't know how the heck we're going to do this, but we're going to figure this thing out. And that ended up becoming our largest project to date in terms of content and the scale of project it was. We were putting people up in helicopter shots. We're doing drone shots. We're filming all day for these guys. And then we created this 3-minute long video that won a Telly Award. And now we have 34 Telly Awards for our award.
A lot for a young kid.
Yeah. And so with that being said, like that allows us to have Duke Energy as one of our client lists. And that's just been part of our process is having a bias towards possible. If you have a bias towards possible, you then figure out how you're going to make that happen. But if you can commit to it and then fulfill, obviously, the results and the hype mixed together, then you're going to be very successful.
Well, most businesses start with an ideal and people don't have clear vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you always call me up for advice, and in my DMs, it's nonstop, right? Right? People ask me for advice, just for advice. And it's the same people that call me 6 months later, a year later. I'm like, and you have the same problems. I'm like, but you still do step one.
Yeah.
And then when people say, oh, I got to have this perfect business plan, I'm like, your business plan is going to change 100 times.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought I would be in roofing. I never thought I'd be in popcorn business. Never thought I'd be in the rum business. Never. I'm buying a hotel right now, right? Like business is business,
mm-hmm.
right? It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd be from pastor to own a digital marketing company?
0%.
And when you meet these business owners, these contractors, 'cause I do believe 90% of the contractors out there are good people. I know people hear these horrific stories, but now I've been around so many. I think that's why I gravitate to the contractors so much. They're really down-to-earth people. They're good people. I think 90% of the agency people are a bunch of fraud and idiots. I do. I say it all the time. I do. I mean, if you show me people's results, I guarantee you, and I would say this to anyone, and I'll put it out there, I'll put $1 million hard cash up. $1 million hard cash. You give me 10 different digital marketing companies, and only 2 of their shit is actually working. You're wasting your money on PPC. You're wasting your money on social media. Because they set it and forget it. How many agencies have you seen? You go into their PPC AdWords, and the only thing that's automating the change history is their automation.
Yeah.
No going in, looking at it, no touching it. Analytics isn't set up correctly. Think about this. When people come to you, how hard is it to get their FTP login and their user access from the other agency? How hard is that?
Depends on how much of tool bags the other agency is, but sometimes it can be really tough. I mean, there's ownership over that, or sometimes they can just throw it away pretty easily. So,
but think about that. But if you went and you said, listen, I'm going to terminate any other service, but I want what I paid for, they would hand it over to you.
Yeah.
But here, everything's so hidden because people don't want to be exposed.
Yes, that is so true.
People don't, because once you get underneath the hood, it's a problem.
Yes.
And this is the one thing, let me ask you this question, Jordan. Why do business owners, because it still astounds me. It's like people are like, Lance, you take all these contracting companies, you grow them so fast, and clearly I'm a lead magnet. I say to people, what do you do? Lead magnet, recruiting better people than me. Like, do I seem stressed out? Right? I'm enjoying my life. Like, I'm not in the day-to-day operations. I'm not making popcorn. I'm not banging roofs. I'm not painting houses. I'm not doing HVAC. But I surround myself with great people, so you got to constantly recruit people.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have technology. My technology of choice is ServiceTitan. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
And ServiceTitan doesn't pay me. People are like, what? I'm like, ServiceTitan sponsors my podcast, and it's not that much money, truthfully. Right? Let's be realistic. But I love my relationship with ServiceTitan. There's no way I've been able to sell my companies to private equity without ServiceTitan or navigate my businesses. And I believe you're a marketing and sales machine. If you could be those things, any company grows.
Amen to that.
Why do you think contractors still don't grasp that concept? And they're resistant against it. They say shit like, I'm old school. I'm not. Knoxville, Tennessee, my man Dustin. No offense, Dustin. Well, I'm not a technology guy. Then you'll be then you'll be the biggest fish in your little pond for the rest of your life down there in Knoxville. But that's all you're going to get to. Yeah, Jordan. So why do you think contractors don't understand this and they forget and they're defiant about doing it?
Yeah. Had an interesting story. So the similar concept happened. So there's a company in our area where the father started the company, and he's old school. They've always done, the handshake, good old boy things for years. And his son is the one that's going to be taking it over. He's a little bit older than me. And what was interesting was having a conversation with his son. I said, hey, I just want to call the kettle black here. Do you have the same relationships as your father? No, I don't. Why not? Well, because there are all these guys that have hired my dad to do these massive build outs, multi-million-dollar skyscrapers, huge projects. They're all doing business with my dad. I said, you're taking the business over, right? He said, yeah. I said, do you have the relationships with all these guys that are your dad's age? No. So what are you going to do to continue that legacy? He's like, well, I'll work on the culture. I'll work on hiring. I said, absolutely. But how are you going to continue to get the business when those guys that knew your dad are gone? He's like, I don't know. We're just going to keep looking at the RFPs that are going out there, and we're trying to do a good job to scale. I said, what you're missing is your story. I said, your story lives forever via media. And if people have a documentation of your story of projects that you've done, don't you think that you're more likely to get the jobs over your competition? He's like, yeah, I think so. I said, so with me, what we're going to do is we're going to tell a better story than your competition. We're here in business we're trying to make your competition jealous of you. And if we can do that through the way in which creatively we build the website, your branding, your media, your photo, video, your landing pages, your creative ads, I feel like we're a good candidate because we can position you that way to win. So why do most guys not want to get into this media or digital marketing per se? I think a lot of them are really good at their craft. They're very good at tuning ACs or building roofs. They're not thinking about themselves as a marketing agency and sales agency first that has to hire or that does HVAC or roofing or electrical and such. They're so good at this craft, they get so hyper-focused, they forget the value of a storyteller. You know, a lot of the people that are doing very well, just like yourself and other different businesses, are great with telling their story, getting the message out there, being a lead magnet, but also documenting it, marketing it to where it's so shiny, it's so attractive, it's so interesting, where people love to watch. Like I love these pressure washing videos where it's just time lapse of pressure washing, like from the grummy, crappy stuff to now it's like pristine. Like when you watch that stuff, you're like, I would hire that guy because I like what they do. I like the way that they market. Brick paver ceiling companies, we've done a lot of work for them. Seeing the dull pavers and then you flip and you see the shiny ones. Yeah, like you have to think about what the consumer is going to feel when they watch your content. If you're absent, then you're not going to be seen, heard, and hired.
I compare marketing to this, and I've always said this. Michael Gullidge, my partner that we took Dilling and we sold it to Apex. We started from $2 million with $12 million, $18 million. They're going to do $40 million plus this year. This is all inside of 4 or 5 years, right? Michael Gullidge is blonde hair. You hate this guy. You hate him. Blonde hair. How tall is Michael? 6'2", 6'3"? Skinny, built like you, charismatic, has that southern jaw. You know, yeah, PGA Tour. Wears the polo. Good-looking guy. Everything you can't stand. Hey, Emily, get in here. Hey, you're a beautiful guy. Just his wife, Trish, is beautiful. He's a beautiful guy. I'm busting stones here, right? That is marketing. Because whatever room Michael Gullidge walks into, all eyes go to Michael Gullidge. No matter if your wife's married or not, she has 2 eyes. She knows that's a good-looking man. Well, guess what? That's what marketing is. If all the consumers' eyes can go to your brand, see it's professional, see you're a brand I can trust, you're a brand that delivers, you all right. Michael Gullidge has the head start of getting the date from the rip. Mm-hmm. All he has to do is make sense when he talks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
He can only mess it up. Mm-hmm. My salespeople and all my organizations, I say it to them all the time, you can only mess it up. By the time they called us or emailed us or came through social media, they saw our reviews. All of our companies have hundreds of reviews. They saw our brand is strong. They saw we had video testimonials. When someone reaches out to you, they already bought in their mind your product and services. I truly believe that. No woman said yes to you, Jordan, let's go out on a date, where she wasn't interested in you, at least a little bit. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, you might have messed it up. I know I messed it up a million times. Look at me, right? But, you know, I messed it up, right? But the point I'm making is the sales guy messes it up. It's your job as a marketing agency and as a business owner to give every bullet in the gun to your salespeople to deliver 100%. A 5-star experience to your customer.
Yes.
And I don't think people understand that.
No. I like my number one marketing philosophy is you have to market your business in proportion to the greatness you claim it has. So in other words, if you claim that you're the best roofing company in that area, the best, paver sealing company, pressure washing, HVAC, then you have to go in proportion to marketing greatness that you claim the fulfillment is. And the reason why is because you could have a business that is doing amazing work, but yet they're cutting corners on their marketing. They're doing crappy Fiverr work. They're doing awful iPhone videos. The UGC content looks like trash. They don't put a lot of effort into the marketing. So what that tells the consumer in many cases is that you cut corners, you're cheap, and because you don't care comprehensively about your business, there's a good chance if there's a mess up, you're not going to care about the mess up or fixing the issue in my world. And so with that, we always try to say, we're trying to be proportioned together with the greatness that you claim that you have.
What is some of the biggest must-do, say, if you're a contractor? Is it email marketing, text messages, SEO, social media? Like, not everyone has a big budget, right? Not everyone can go partner with a Lance Bachman. It's going to infuse the company, do the marketing the right way, understands the analytics, understands the data flow, understands automation, right? But if I'm just Joe Smell and I'm a $2 to $5 million company, because that's still a nice size company, right, for most people.
Yep.
Where do they start? Because a lot of these people just don't even know where to start, I believe. So what would you tell them to start?
I always like to start with your mission, your core values, and your vision statement. That's the very first thing. That permeates into everything that you market. It dictates all the visuals of how you do your marketing. Once you dictate and you say this is what we believe and why we believe what we believe, you got to tell that in a brand story video. Create a brand story video about your why. It's that Simon Sinek, you start with why. And you show the what and the who by communicating your why. Once you have the brand story video, yes, you have great visuals, a great logo. Kick Charge. I know a lot of people can't afford them, but they are a phenomenal graphic design company for trade services.
Oh, man, Dan.
Yeah, Dan. He's a great, great guy. I met him at the Moving Titan retreat and just was really blown away with how creative that they were. I felt like their level of creativity on the graphic design stuff is what I try to aspire to with the marketing side and with video. But a lot of them, they start with the mission, the core values, your visuals, your great branding and such. But then also develop that website out where it looks fantastic. I still would recommend doing a WordPress site. We have a lot of clients that we move off from, Squarespace, or move them off from, what was the other ones? Oh my gosh. Wix. Yes, we've done a lot of Wix. Some months transfers. No,
You're not a Wix fan.
they look, Wix looks nice. Like you're just stuck with it. It's like Shesta products. Like
Shit.
you got stuck with it. Yeah. So we transferred them over to a WordPress site. From there, they need to make video content, photo content.
What percent of all sites are on WordPress now? Probably 60, 70%. I want to ChatGPT that for me, Jacob. I'm just curious. What percentage?
Yeah. So if we can get them on the WordPress site, they need to make photo and video content every single day. In many cases, if they can make a reel a day, that's going to get their name out there. We started working with a guy. His name is Mike Perez with Grounded Lighting, Tampa Bay. Is a solopreneur. He's got a helper, but he's doing about $30,000 a month in sales. And so we brought him on. That's a little bit smaller of a client for us. Like 1 to 10 million is a perfect range for us. But with him, I know
43%. There you go.
Yeah. With Mike, I know him really well. We're in that same area, and I believe in what he believes in. He wants to scale his business. And he's only been in business for about 6 months. So I love
his business for 6 months.
I love his hustle. I like his grind. He's very meticulous at the design work of exterior lighting. So with him, I said, make content every single day, and also go to some of these local networking groups, get involved, make referral partners. Some of your best people, best handshakes is just a networking group away. If you meet with them, you get coffee with them. That's great for sales building. That might be the next person that just dumps 10% of your gross sales with that one relationship for the year or such. So in general, a great website. Got to have good landing page, good clickbait, if you will, to get them to click. I saw one of my friends, I was working out with him yesterday. He said, hey, check out this ad that I got from this roofing company. And so it started off with a piece of mail, and it was one of those like AI handwritten things. So it looked legit, looked like a real handwritten letter. So he flipped that open, and then it had some nice content on there. It had the QR code. You click the QR code, and it takes you to a landing page. You type out your address, and then it spits out a quote with a expected monthly expense that you'd have. It shows the Owens Corning, the GAF that it has on there. All that to say, like, it started off with that one piece, and that was probably about 80 cents to send that piece of mail that then had this flow. You create your sales flows. Your sales flows can also lead to the revenue on that part. So those are just some things I think social media is so key, but personalizing your brand is really, really important as well. It doesn't have to be so polished all the time, which is hard for me. I'm preaching to the choir because I love things polished. Like I'm a freaking perfectionist,
Let's talk about personal brand. I'm a big personal brand guy. Like, I don't care. People are like, Lance, you love video, you love being everywhere. I'm like, listen, I believe in building I live up to what I say. I am who I say I am. I told you I'd be here. Yes or no? I'm here. We're going to cold plunge today. You brought your American flag. Listen, I love that. I'm proud to be an American, but like, I believe my personal brand is bigger than any company I could ever build. Yeah. I own multiple companies. These companies are all going to come and go. I will die, but I try to teach my sons right now through social media. We're having a few hiccups with my children right now with their phones and social media. A few little hiccups. That brand is more important. And listen, not everyone's going to love your brand. Listen, you want to see the circus, go to the comment section on social media, right? That's the circus, right? But if people look at my brand, they're going to say, this is a guy I can trust, straight shooter, self-made. He's going to make it crystal clear where he stands. A guy asked me the other day, he wants to partner with me. He goes, what happens if it fails? And I just looked at him. I said, how many times have I failed in the last 10 years in business? He goes, from what I can see, none. I said, so why would this fail? Would it be me or you? And he's like, well, I'm going to do this. I said, I'm just asking you a simple question. Do you believe I'm going to deliver on what I said? And he's like, I do. So if I deliver on what I say, my track record says he's a winner. Mm-hmm. So far, your track record doesn't speak the same volume, does it? And he's like, you're right. Yeah. Because people want to start making excuses. Can you talk about why personal brand is so important? Because I think your personal brand is more important than your company brand. I can go down to my buddy Joe Bograd. He's a realtor. His brand is one of the most biggest brands I've ever seen for a realtor. I can just start naming all personal brands. Tommy Mello is bigger than A1 Garage. Most people don't know that. Like, people don't comprehend your personal brand should be bigger than any business brand you have. Yeah. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree with that. I was watching a video actually this morning where it was saying that AI will still never be able to replace your personal brand. But I firmly believe in that. I think that when you raise your personal brand up, it doesn't matter what companies, you're the umbrella, essentially, and everything else flows underneath that. Your core values, your beliefs, how you run a business, it will also dictate how you run your other companies as well. So if you have a template, you have a system, you have your core values, it doesn't matter. You're just going to plug and play of what makes sense. So I think building out, your personal brand takes time. And that's what, I will be totally honest, that's one of the biggest things that I feel like I've been deficient in my career is building my personal brand. I built so many.
You're doing it for so many other people, you might as well start yourself.
Exactly. So we finally, it's only been the last few months or so that I'm building my Instagram following up. My LinkedIn, the last 2 years, I've really built my LinkedIn following up where I'm proud of that. But I still have a lot of room to grow on that part. But if you keep putting out long form video allows you so many different short form pieces of content. This podcast can lead to maybe 5 to 10 really solid reels for the both of us that we can utilize. You do enough of that, it's a compound interest effect. Then you repurpose that. It's a vertical video versus horizontal, and this can be an ad someday. This can also be your stories, because you're going to take that long form, post that as a short form, and also on stories that goes away in 24 hours. It's just so vital on that part because people truly are interested in what you do. There's a stat that said that 86% of consumers would watch more content if you had more of it. So the point is, you got to keep feeding the beast, if you will. Video is shared 1,200% more than graphics or photos or text is.
I agree.
So this is something that we're just visual creatures. We're storytellers. We were storytellers and video people, if you will, before that technology even began. It just was in the form of papyrus or then stone tablets and then finally the Gutenberg press. And then we got into technology that you could write this out. You could print this out. You can do internet marketing and internet communication. We've been creatures that love storytelling. That's why the Bible, Jesus did parables. he had a list of parables that he would teach principles through by a story. I think if he were alive today, he'd be a digital marketer or he'd be a content creator.
Listen, I just took over Team PA for wrestling, which I think was an honor, and I love it. But today I shot a video. It's my second day. I shot a video in my sauna with my shirt off, right? But do you think I did that consciously or unconsciously?
Definitely consciously.
Because people are going to see on Team PA a dude with his shirt off in a sauna, like, who is this lunatic and why?
And I saw it.
Right?
Yeah.
But you saw it, right? But my phone blew up like 3-4 people saying, yo, dude, if you're going to shoot content for Team PA, put his shirt on, LOL, right? But you saw the content.
Yes.
And since then, we had like 200 applications plus yesterday. But since I shot that video today, I think, Jacob, what we were like 70 some more applications came in? Like, it's like just boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Well, my job is to get the best people on Team PA. How do I do that? I got to get them to see the content to come want to be part of Team PA.
Yeah.
Well, being vanilla, right? Once again, it goes back to the Mike Goldridge rule, right? The good-looking guy. Marketing is the same thing.
Yes.
And I just don't think people grasp that, Jordan, that you are a storyteller. And when you can tell stories,
yes,
you're probably going to be successful. And your business better tell a story or someone else will tell a story for you.
Right.
And it's probably not going to be a good one.
That's why if you look at like the whole world of antiques, collector's items, people buy that because of the story that's behind it. My buddy, I love him to death, Seth, he showed me the story of this guy that sold Elvis Presley's touring bus. And he sold it, I forget for how many millions of dollars. He showed me that, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. But the person that bought it because of the story. Elvis went to this place. He went to here, and et cetera. And so they were able to buy it just because that personal connection. When marketing allows people to buy with their heart.
Of course.
And when you can, again, feed the whole beast of marketing with the great wrapped vehicles, the awesome groomed, if the salesperson goes to the door, they got a nice beard. They have to be groomed up. Not all this neck crap that's hanging out there. They don't have, they have a good presentation with their shirt, the way that they speak. I mean, all that presentation-wise is marketing. It's storytelling. So I firmly believe that you gotta build your personal brand up to where people are just so drawn to you that it doesn't really matter what you're a part of. They're just going to follow you.
You just got to make sure you deliver. I always said to people, it's great that you are a great marketer, but you better deliver, right? Here's a question for you. I know you got to go. I appreciate all your time here. The gumball story. I got to hear this about your kids, man. And people, I made them stop. You started telling me the story. I said, stop. We're going to talk about it. How did you get your kids into the gumball business, and how old are they?
Sure. So I have 3 kids. Micah is 11, Eliana is 10, and Asher is 7.
Great names.
Yeah, they're all biblical names. And so we had 3 kids in 3.5 years. I always joke that my wife
3 kids, 3.5 years.
Yeah, I joke my wife liked my tight pants, and that's
Yeah, okay, yeah. With that, you can think that your wife must be a smoke bomb. 3 kids at 3.5 years.
Oh, she is. Yeah.
The only thing was your tight pants.
Very fertile.
Right. She was digging that.
So we had 3 kids, 3.5 years. And one thing that my dad taught me, he was in the insurance business, crop insurance. And he showed me how residual income was a great model to build wealth and financial stability. So when he sold that business, he's like, hey, this is how I did it. I had the premiums were coming and I worked for that premium and my sales people did last year. And now I have that account every single year. And so he goes, you should try to start, I was 13 at this point when I started my first gumball machine business. He goes, if you want to start a business that has residual income, gumball machines would be a great business for you. So I saved $285 as a 13-year-old, bought it off eBay. It's a 4-foot spiral machine. I still remember the day that the big UPS driver dropped it off there. And then my dad said, now we need to find a good restaurant. So then he taught me, he goes, what do you think good characteristics would be of a machine that, should be in your spot? I said, well, I think you should have a lot of traffic and you should have some kids because kids like gumball machines. He goes, all right, what place do you know of that does that? He was coaching me the whole time as a teenage kid. I said, Santino's restaurant. That's our favorite Mexican restaurant that we had. So he said, I want you to go next time we're there to Mr. Santino's and I want you to go up to him and say, may I have permission to put this machine at your establishment? And if he says yes, you tell him, we can either give you 10% of the profits or our family will vow to come here once a month. And so we went there to that place. I had the machine in the car. We went up to Mr. Santino's. My dad said, I'm not going to speak for you. You're going to speak for yourself. And so I said, hey, can I have my place, my machine here at your place? And sure enough, he said yes. We started going there every single month for years. And I made $30 a month on average for that one machine. And then my dad taught me, he said, if you have discipline, you can reinvest your profits back into your second machine. So and he was kind of doing the math on how long it'd take to buy the next machine. Mm-hmm. So I was able to buy the next one after a year. And then I was able to buy the third one a lot faster because I had twice as much profits come in. So just that model really shaped a lot of my mindset of being an entrepreneur. So fast forward to where my kids, they want to have money. And I said, you can either exchange time for money, which is fine if you want to do that. I still think you should learn what that's like. But if you want to have something that pays you while you don't work, would you be more interested in that? And they said, yeah, of course. What would we do, Daddy? So then I showed old pictures and told them the story about when I had a gumball machine. My dad helped me. My mom helped me with my P&Ls back in the day with old spreadsheets and all that fun stuff. So I said, we're gonna have a gumball machine business. And I said, the thing that you could do better than what I did is I only had gumballs. You guys should have a triple head machine. And so they would have the gumballs in the middle and Skittles and M&Ms or whatever you want on the outsides. So we started talking. I started doing the same thing, coaching that my dad did for me. I said, where do you think would be a good spot where there are a lot of kids? They started talking about different places, and some were kind of cute and some didn't make any sense. But then one stood out, and they're like, what about that gymnastics place? And I already knew that would be the number one spot that I would recommend. I said, that's a great idea. What do you think? Where would we put it at? And they said, well, probably in that front foyer area because that's where all the kids go. I said, perfect. So do you guys have enough money? So they looked, my son and my daughter about 15 months apart. And I said, how much money do you guys have together? They had about $400 saved up. Well, machine plus all the candy is $365. So they saved up. I said, if you want to do this, Daddy will teach you how to do it. And we need to talk to Mr. Brent, who runs the Suncoast Gymnastics. They have hundreds of kids there every single night. It's probably about 20, 30,000 square foot warehouse. And so the kids went up there. I did the same thing. I said, I want you to talk to Mr. Brent, and I want you to ask him to put your machine here. So that's what they did. And I said, I want you to tell him we're going to give profits to help fund or sponsor kids that don't have enough money that want to do gymnastics. I said, that's going to touch his heart. And so they did that same thing. The dude almost started crying. He's like, oh, man, how can I say no to let you guys put the machines here?
I love it, though.
So about every 4 to 6 weeks, we go and check that. They were able to buy their second machine and put it at the opposite end of the gymnastics place because the left side, the west side, is all about the older kids. But they still have younger siblings that hang out there. The east side is all like 5 and under. So we kind of did the McDonald's approach where it's a lot of places inside of one smaller area. So now between them two, my son, it's cute because they're like, we don't have enough money to have our own machines, but we'd like to still do this. I said, so what this is called a partnership, where you take half your money and then Micah, you take half your money, you put it together. Now you have to split the profits, but you're able to get into business faster and learn from that. Well, then my youngest, Asher, who's 7, he's like, Daddy, I want to have my own machine. And Mike and Ellie are like, you can't because you're poor. So he got a little upset because he's like, I don't have enough money. But he finally saved up enough money to where he could do a down deposit. Because I say, buddy, you have about $250. Daddy can lend you the money. But if I lend you the money, I have to charge you interest.
Oh, you're a savage.
And he's like, why would you charge me interest, Daddy? I was like, well, if it's my money, I could let it work for me in other ways and make me money. Why would I just give?
What was the interest rate?
10%.
Oh my God.
Well, this was his idea. I said, Daddy will give you $100, but what do you think I should charge you for letting me give you $100? He's like, $10. I said, deal.
Oh my God.
And so he paid me the 10% interest, and within about a year, he's made his money back. And so all of them are making around $350, $400 a month.
Wow.
Off their machines, but they're learning to tithe.
I mean, that's $4,000 a year.
Yes. Learning to give to their church, learning to invest back in their business. They're learning how to, save, and they have their own Google Sheet P&L. So that's one thing that my wife and I are really proud about with our kids is that they're little entrepreneurs.
I love it. Listen, thank you for flying in. Thank you for being here, brother. Thank you so much.